In the old days, the beginning days, there was hardly anybody on the campus there at Prasanthi Nilayam. The first time I came, my wife and I, in January of 1968, there were only 6 or 8 foreign people in the entire campus. There were no new buildings, just the Mandir, before the present additions to the Mandir, and 2 or 3 old ramshackle buildings in which a few people lived. And Swami, when we came, put them in one room, old, dusty, dirty room, and the ladies in another, and then he would come every morning and spend an hour and a half or 2 hours talking to us, and come back in the afternoon and spend an hour and a half or 2 hours talking to us, day after day, for all the 10 days that we were there. Ask him any question that we wanted to, and he would answer. And he would send food to us, and a peculiar thing we noticed was that the food came in these Indian canisters, various segments for different kinds of food. And when we started, there were perhaps 8 foreigners and perhaps 6 or 7 Indians in the group. And gradually, their schedules took them away, and they left. And when it was down to about 4 of us, we noticed the peculiar thing, and that was that the level of food in the canisters stayed precisely the same, no matter how many people had been taking food from the canister. When there were the 12 or 14 people, the canister went down the food level a certain amount. When there were only 4 or 5 of us, exactly the same amount. So the food just multiplied naturally. And of course, in those early days also, Swami himself would walk through the crowd and individually give every person sweets and sometimes amrit out of a container. And although there might be 2,000 or 3,000 people there, yet the little container that Swami carried never was empty, always was full. And so I've had all those talks with Swami. In the early days, when we were first there, the first couple of years, we were staying in a room which faced Swami's room above the Mandir. And he didn't have anyone to talk to. So he would come to the window and wave me like that. Come up, Crystal. Come up and talk. So I would come up into the room and we would have a long chat. One time I asked him, I said, Swami, you have the job, I don't say you, I never address him in the second person, always the third person. I said, Swami, Swami has to look after the entire universe. The stars, the distant galaxies. He has to look after all the people in the world, the people who worship God that don't even know about Swami, he takes care of them too. The colleges, the schools, devotees in all parts of the world. With that tremendous burden of work, how does Swami have time to sit here and talk to the likes of me? And he said, well, it was not like that at all. He said, it's like when you start a car and you turn the key in the car and the engine starts and then the engine just runs. No attention is needed to it. So he said the universe is like that. Swami turns the key, the universe, all parts of the universe work, and no attention is needed, so I have plenty of time to slip to sit here and talk, and talk to you. So then also, for many years, I would say 5 or 6 years at least, wherever Swami went, he would take me with him in the car, no matter where he was going, whether out to lunch or to some other city or whatnot. And I would sit in the front seat and in the back seat with the driver. In the back seat would be Swami, sitting in the middle, and then there would be a couple of persons close to Swami. Roger Reddy used to be one on one side. And Vittal Rao, I don't know how many of you knew Vittal Rao before he died. Very nice man, Vittal Rao. Swami liked him very much. He was a very witty man and could always make Swami laugh, but knew exactly where to stop. You know? Never stepped 1 inch over the proper boundary. So Swami always had Vittal Rao with him whenever he went in the car. And then Vittal Rao died, and the people in the back car started to change. Dr. Bhagavantam would be there, Jogo Rao would be there, and so on. And so in these car trips, also I would be turning back all the time, straining my neck, looking back, because the back seat was where the action was. And Swami would sometimes be talking to the two fellows there in Telugu. Sometimes he would sing bhajans, and sometimes he would answer questions. And I had the terrible reputation of always asking questions. So I would ask questions, and Swami would answer the questions, and then as soon as the car trip finished, I would go to a quiet place and write down everything that was said. If we had a half an hour, an hour's conversation, it might take me 4 hours to reconstruct the conversation. But then I would take that conversation to the other people who were in the car or in the group interviewing Swami, wherever Swami and I happened to be, and would ask them to read and point out any omissions or any errors of commission in what was written. So even though it came from my memory, all the talks and the conversations were verified by other people. So they aren't wild reaches of imagination. Sometimes people have come to me and said, well, why didn't you tape them, Hislop? It would be much more believable if we could listen to a tape. Well, that's true. It's a very good idea, and I tried that. I carried a tape when I first came there, and Swami let me use it a couple times. And so one time I said to him, this was when the old cottage was there at Brindavan, before this new lotus-like building which is now there, which is a new home. And that cottage had a big veranda. And so I said, Swami, what Swami says should be recorded for posterity. All these wonderful things are said and nobody puts them down or does anything about them. So I said, that's right, it should. So I said, all right, Swami, when shall I come tomorrow morning? Well, you come at 10 o'clock. All right. So I would come at 10 o'clock, have the tape recorder there, and then I would ask a question and put the machine on. And Swami would say, I don't think that one should be recorded. So off went the machine. Until finally he told me, Hislop, don't use that tape recorder anymore. He said, the tape recorder's up here.